Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of eXp Realty. MyNextHomeFinder.com. She is a beauty influencer from New York City who commands attention.
He is a lawyer born and raised in Florida who lays down the law.
And together they are
The Lady and the Law.
Here are your hosts of The Lady and the Law, Cindy Grossman and Mitchell Goldman.
Hello, Cindy. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mitch?
Doing great. Jesse, you doing well?
Yeah, very good, very good.
Excellent. What should we talk about today, Cindy?
I think we should talk about your favorite subject.
My Cardinals?
No. This is not time for baseball.
Okay.
That could be a good show, though.
It might
Maybe one
be.
time. Yeah.
I don't know how that relates to the law.
Maybe after we get back from our weekend in St. Louis.
Aha.
Right?
Well, we'll see if we're still talking.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Yankees don't sweep my team.
Oh, yeah. We'll
Today, we have a very exciting topic, at least to me.
see. Right.
Today, we are going to talk about, drumroll, the residential real estate contract, the as-is residential real estate contract. Now, my experience is a lot of people think, oh, a contract, it's just a pre-printed form. I can't negotiate anything. I can't change anything. They just take the terms kind of for granted. But I want to try to walk everyone a little bit through the contract. We don't want to get lost in the weeds. If I'm getting lost in the weeds, Jesse, please pull me back to the path that I need to be on. But here goes. So the standard residential contract in Florida is about 12 pages long. There are addendums, and if anyone wants a copy, I'm happy to provide you with a copy if you request. Some states, only attorneys fill out the contract. Other states, it can be either attorneys or realtors or really anyone. Florida is a state where anyone can fill out a contract like this. Whether that's right or wrong is not for me to say. But please note that the standard contract is as is. So that means you take the property in its as is condition. However, if you are the seller and you know that there's a hidden defect in the property, what does that mean? What is your responsibility as a seller to do?
To fix it. Or, I know, maybe release the information that
Exactly. You have to disclose it.
Right.
Because if you don't and the buyer finds out about it, you can be sued for fraud. So even though it's as is, you have to disclose it. So on the first page of the contract, you'll find pretty basic information, who the seller is. Well, sometimes people get it wrong and they don't list both names if it's a husband and wife, or maybe they're joint tenants or people that aren't husband and wife that own it. You have to list everybody. Who's the buyer? Again, seems pretty simple, but if you want your full legal name to be on the title, then put your full legal name, middle name, initial. Let's do it the way you want it to be on the deed when you do become the owner. We need the street address of the property, of course, what county it's located in. If you have a tax ID number, all properties have a tax ID number. That's helpful. A legal description, a brief legal description that you can get off the tax roll or your deed, your prior deed. A lot of times when you're negotiating a contract, there's personal property. So when we bought our house, there was furniture, for example, and we negotiated separately for certain items of furniture. Other items that may or may not be included in the house that need to be negotiated: stove, range, refrigerator, washer, dryer, a microwave. Sometimes people have an extra refrigerator or freezer in their garage. Again, if those items are going to be included, they should be specified in the contract.
Okay, that's interesting. I always thought, the basic appliances came with the home, but it has to be written out on the contract.
It's a great idea to list those kind of built-in appliances. stove, range, refrigerator are in the contract, but anything else you need to specify,
Okay.
especially items of furniture.
Oh, of course.
Furniture needs to be
Right.
specified,
Right.
or it's not going to be included.
Okay.
Now, continuing the contract on page 1, we have the purchase price. Pretty basic. What's the purchase price going to be? How much is the deposit going to be? And when is the deposit going to be provided? Now, do you think it's okay to, Jesse, do you think it's okay to give the deposit to the seller?
Right off the bat, right before you sign anything?
No, wait, at the time you sign.
I would say yeah.
Well, most people, I would advise not to give the money to the seller.
Okay.
I would give it to a third party. That
Okay.
would be a title company, or your escrow agent could be your attorney as well.
Okay.
And the reason is, if you don't close, then the seller has your money. And whereas with a third party, with an independent person, they're going to hold your money. You never know what happens when the seller has your money, and maybe they say, no, you're not entitled to get it back, and they spent the money. So we don't like to give the money to the seller.
No.
We give it to an independent party.
Okay. Now, what if somebody does not have a lawyer? Who would be that third party?
Well, typically the seller determines who the escrow agent is going to be,
Okay.
because they pay the escrow agent for closing services.
Oh, okay.
So that's usually a decision by the seller. And in most cases, it's either a title company in Florida
Okay.
or an attorney. The realtors used to hold deposits, but they don't typically hold deposits anymore because, frankly, I don't think they want the hassle of having to make the deposits and account for all the money.
Right.
So the page 1 also talks about financing, how much the people are going to borrow, if anything. So that's something else that's very important. We also set a closing date at the bottom of page 1 and top of page 2.
Okay.
And the closing date, I recommend for a standard real estate closing 60 days. I think that's a realistic time frame, especially if there's going to be financing, an appraisal has to be ordered, survey prepared, an inspection period, moving in, getting ready. I think 60 days is pretty standard. 45 days is fast, 60 days less rushed.
Okay. Now, again, all these things you're mentioning, if you have a lawyer, it is a lot easier to take care of this.
Well, a lawyer should go over all this with you,
Right.
and a realtor should also discuss these issues with you as well.
Right.
And you need to ask questions. Always ask questions. Always ask questions.
Before you sign.
Exactly. Sometimes, especially lately, we see a lot of cash closings with no contingencies for financing. Now, if you're the seller, you like that. But if you're the buyer and you need to borrow money, you don't want your deposit at risk if you don't close. So on page 2, paragraph 8 is a contingency for financing. And then the financing contingency talks about the amount of money that you need to borrow, what the maximum interest rate might be that you'd be willing to pay, whether if it's going to be a conventional or an FHA loan, things of that nature. But if you're needing financing, you want to make sure this is filled out, because otherwise your deposit could be at risk, and we don't want that.
No.
Page 3 is very interesting, in my opinion. It's about as interesting as it gets. But it the contract, the standard allocation in the contract allocates closing costs. And closing costs are negotiable. So the standard contract has the seller paying, for example, documentary stamps on the deed. those are 70 cents $100. So it adds up. On $100,000, it's 70 cents $100. The more the sale price, the more those costs are. That's typically a seller cost. The seller also pays title insurance, which on the first $100,000 is $575, another cost. So on $100,000, you're at $1,200 or $1,300 in closing costs paid by the seller. Well, the seller could seek in the contract to have the buyer pay those costs, all or a part of those costs, or share those costs. The buyer doesn't escape paying costs. They pay costs related to the financing, which when you borrow money, if you were to borrow $100,000, you pay $550 in doc stamps and intangible tax and a small amount for title. But usually the seller pays the bulk of the closing costs in a standard allocation contract like this. But remember, what do I always tell you and Jesse? Everything's negotiable. So price and allocation of closing costs.
Now, how often does that happen where the buyer pays for most of the closing costs or for more than their, typical share?
Not too often,
Yeah.
because most people just accept what the standard contract says. And especially on, closings that aren't, huge amounts, the standard closing, it's probably pretty standard. I'd say 90 to 95%, the standard allocation of closing costs. That's a good question. I'd like to talk more about that after the break if we can.
Sure.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Dining and bedroom sets, occasional tables, sofas, sleeper sofas, love seats, and chairs, including lots of slipcover styles from Universal, Four Seasons, and Capri. We also have a gallery of Tommy Bahama and Lexington furniture with styles designed for a relaxed approach to the finer things in life. Right now, we're having a summer sale with lots of great markdowns, including all pictures, lamps, and accessories half price. Sunshine Furniture, $12.95 US 1 in Vero Beach next to Planet Fitness. Family owned and operated since 1991. Don't forget to visit our outlet and closeout store directly across the street and visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Sunshine Furniture brightens up your day. Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Ooh, have a sunshine day. Sunshine Furniture, stop on in today and have a sunshine day.
The law offices of Goldman, Monahan, Tucker, and Bettine is here to help you with your personal legal challenges, business needs, and real estate matters. Since 1984, we have assisted countless numbers of Florida individuals and businesses with their legal issues. From trusts and estates, wills, real estate, and civil or criminal litigation, we pride ourselves on maintaining lifelong client relationships and would appreciate the opportunity to assist you and your family as well. Please call 321-639-1320 for further information on the law offices of Goldman, Monahan, Tucker, and Bettine. I'm a non-attorney spokesman.
At Compass Pest Control, we focus on killing pests where they live and breed by terminating them outside your home or office before they can get in. Hi, I'm Chris Hudman, owner of Compass Pest Control. We prevent roaches, ants, and other pests from getting inside with a proactive approach. We don't stop there. We also offer lawn and plant health programs. And we'll never sell you something you don't need. At Compass Pest Control, our prices are competitive, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Get a free estimate. Visit compasspests.com.
Hello, this is Carol Jean Jordan, your tax collector here in Indian River County. All of our offices are scheduling appointments for in-office services, but you can get that little yellow sticker quicker by using our Express Lane. It's fast, convenient, and free when you pay with an e-check. Renew your registration on our website and select Pick Up at the Tax Collector's Office. Order before 3 p.m. and you can pick up your little yellow sticker on the same day. Order at irctax.com. That's irctax.com.
Need an enlightening pick-me-up? Visit Kristen and Cindy at Skinergy to energize your skin and keep it looking fabulous forever. Kristen can help with hair removal, sugaring to keep your whole body smooth and conditioned. Kristen will help you refresh and defend your skin while giving you a customized facial. Cindy helps skinergize and get you camera ready for your everyday look or special occasion. Visit Kristen and Cindy at Skinergy. Find them on Facebook under the Skinergy Squad.
Hello, Cindy. Welcome back. Jesse, welcome back. It's been a long time. No, just kidding. So let's continue looking at the real estate contract. I know you're like on the edge of the seat waiting to hear what's next. So something that's very important that is taking a lot more time than it used to is the survey.
Oh.
So once you sign a contract, especially if you're getting financing, it's very important that you engage the surveyor as soon as possible. The survey is I'm sure you're all familiar with what a survey is, but it's important for a closing because the lender is going to require a survey. You have to locate the corners of the property, want to make sure that the house or whatever you're buying is located within the property, the four corners, that there are no encroachments, so there aren't any improvements that encroach on the other property. Make sure the fences are contained properly, and you're not violating any easements or setbacks. These are taking a lot of time to get because the surveyors are all really, really busy. So you have to leave sufficient time for them to do their work. So don't leave it until the end.
Well, isn't that something that the finance person would take care of for you?
Well, not typically.
Oh.
It's something that they require, but the realtor should let you know that
Request
needs to happen. And then the title company or the closing agent, I know in my office, we make sure that it's been ordered, that somebody's ordered it. Sometimes the realtor orders it. We prefer that the buyer order it. And we give them names of people to talk to.
Okay.
But it takes time. We used to see, I don't see it so much, people want home warranties. They're not terribly expensive. I don't really recommend them. I think it's sometimes people, if the house is kind of maybe needs a lot of work, they'll buy a home warranty on page 4, but it's not a requirement, and I don't typically see that anymore. The inspection period, this is very important. This is on page 5. Typically, people, and I always recommend, unless you're actually living in the property, that you get a home inspection. Get a good home inspection. Figure out what the issues are, because in the long run, you're going to save yourself some money. I know recently we hear stories where people are so desperate to buy a house that they waive the home inspection. I never think it's a good idea. For example, my brother, he's looking at buying a house. It's only 5 years old or 6 years old. It's a new house pretty much, but he got a home inspection and there are issues with the house. So it's only 5 or 6 years old. Even if the house is brand new, even newer than that, a new house,
Right.
I think it's worth getting an inspection just to know what the issues are. The inspections aren't perfect. You want to get the roof inspected. Certainly in Florida, the roof is a critical issue, and the major appliances. And if you're Mr. Handyman, don't rely on yourself. Get a third party to do the inspection.
Absolutely.
And, use that, maybe negotiate the price if there are a lot of issues, even if it's as is. I know we're running out of time. I'm going to try to hit the highlights as we are. Every time you close on a house, you're getting title insurance. And the title insurance is very important because it insures several things. It ensures that you have legal access to the property. You want to make sure that you have access to a public road. It will also undertake to delete any prior liens. Like if there are mortgages on the property when you're buying it, the title company or the closing agent, the attorney, will make sure that those liens are paid off. If there are any judgments, the closing agent needs to pay off those judgments and net that money so that you're not stuck with a judgment after closing. My motto in the office when I do the closing is, I don't want there to be any surprises. It's just sign and drive, and here's your title, and all is good, and you can live peacefully.
Yeah. So how soon do you do that title search?
Well, my opinion is the best thing to do is do the title search as soon as we get the contract in the office.
Oh, okay.
So even though we may not be closing for 45 or 60 days, there's no reason to wait, because sometimes, a lot of times, things come up unexpectedly that the people either didn't know, maybe they inherited the property and they didn't know there was a problem. Well, if you wait till like the week before closing to start looking into these issues, guess what?
Right.
You're not closing. It's too late.
Right.
So better to know ahead of time, and you'll be ready. There's also, of course, the commission. If there's a commission that's to be paid, either one realtor or two realtors, that needs to be listed on the contract. Any additional terms, for example, sometimes people will close and they want to stay in the property for a period of time after closing for various reasons. So that needs to be in the contract toward the end under additional terms. And any special conditions, nothing comes to mind, but any special conditions unique to the property or unique to the sale need to be noted. So I know I've rushed through this a bit. It's not as simple as I make it out to be, but it doesn't take an act of Congress to have a smooth closing and a contract that works. It just takes someone that's knowledgeable. And the most important thing I would tell you is, if you as the buyer or the seller don't understand a term or a condition, then you need to ask. And just because it's a pre-printed contract, don't let the person that's explaining it to you make you feel inadequate because you're asking a question. You have a right to know. You're the consumer, you're the buyer, you're the seller. It's your money. Nobody's going to protect your money better than you. So, Jesse, ask the questions.
Right. Good advice.
You can ask me, Jesse.
I mean, this is one of the largest purchases you'll ever make in your life. So you want to be very careful what you're doing. I know in New York, where I used to live, you had to have an attorney present at your closing. So definitely.
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's important.
true. That's not true in all states.
Right.
A lot of people that move down here, from New York, they request an attorney because that's what they're used to. So
absolutely.
I'm an attorney. I think it's a great idea, but maybe I have that bias, but I think there's a reason we have a value added. So on that note, I hope everyone's doing well. If we can help you, just give us a call.
Great information, Mitch. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you. All right. Have a good day.